My brother handed my 12-year-old son Matthew a brand new MacBook Pro at our family vineyard birthday picnic. Matthew was over the moon, hugged the box like it was the best thing that ever happened to him. He flipped it open right there at the table, eyes wide with excitement. Then a WhatsApp login notification popped up. An old account name that wasn't his, a profile picture that definitely wasn't Matthew. He turned to me confused and asked softly, "Mom, what is this?" My stomach dropped. My blood turned ice cold in an instant. That tiny notification changed everything, and what I discovered next would unravel my brother's entire world. I'm Tiffany, a single mom who moved back in with my parents after my divorce. For the last 2 years, home has been mom and dad's house in a quiet suburb outside Sacramento, California. It was supposed to be temporary just until I found my footing again. But short stops turn long when you're a single mom with a 12-year-old and the cost of living won't let you breathe. The upstairs guest room became ours. It still has the same faded curtains, the same creak in the floorboards near the window. Now it holds Matthew's soccer trophies next to my old high school yearbooks. The house has its own rhythm, built on rules no one ever says out loud. My brother Adam was always the one who got away with everything. Missed curfew? He's just spirited. Dented the car. Boys will be boys. Skipped classes. He'll figure it out. I was the one who had to explain every mistake, apologize first, and prove I deserved the space I took. That pattern never really ended. It just moved down a generation. Adam has a steady life now. A wife, a job in tech, and Cameron, his 10-year-old son who can apparently do no wrong. Cameron is small for his age, quick to smile, genuinely sweet. The problem isn't the kid. It's the way the whole family treats him, like he's fragile, while Matthew is supposed to be unbreakable. It shows up in the smallest moments. Last Thanksgiving, Cameron knocked over a glass of water. It spread across the tablecloth. Mom dabbed it with a napkin and said, "Oh honey, it's fine. You're still little." Everyone smiled. 2 weeks later, Matthew bumped his elbow reaching for the potatoes. The same glass wobbled. A few drops hit the floor. Dad looked up sharply. "You're 12 now, Matthew. You're old enough to be more careful." Adam chuckled like it was a joke. I swallowed the words I wanted to say. When Adam brings Cameron over to play, the house lights up. Mom pulls out the chocolate chip cookie dough she keeps in the freezer just for him. Dad digs the old Nintendo from the attic. Everyone gathers around to watch Cameron play Mario Kart, cheering every time he crosses the finish line. Matthew tries to join in. He sits on the edge of the couch, controller in hand, but the energy shifts. "Matthew, why don't you help set the table?" Mom says, "Or Matthew, let Cameron have a turn." He's been waiting, so Matthew ends up in the kitchen rinsing plates or alone on the porch, scrolling on his phone while laughter spills through the open door. I still remember when Gavin disappeared from Matthew's life. Gavin was his best friend since 3rd grade. They rode bikes together, built forts in the backyard, traded Pokemon cards like currency. Then one Monday Gavin wasn't at school. Matthew came home quiet. I asked what was wrong. He shrugged. By the end of the week he was crying in his room. I sat on the edge of his bed while he told me Gavin's family had moved suddenly, and no one would explain why. I called Gavin's mom, no answer. The school counselor mentioned some trouble with a group of boys but gave no details. Matthew never got closure. He just stopped talking about it. The hurt still shows in his eyes, sometimes quick and gone before anyone notices. Uncle Kevin is the only one who seems to see the imbalance clearly. Dad's younger brother, divorced like me, living an hour away in Oakland. He doesn't say much during family gatherings, but he watches. At dinners he'll catch my eye when Mom praises Cameron for tying his shoes perfectly and ignores the straighter report card Matthew brought home the same week. He never steps in. He just observes like he's keeping score for a game no one else is playing. This weekend was Matthew's birthday. The idea came up casually at dinner the week before. Adam suggested doing something special not at the house. "It's too small," he said. He proposed a private picnic at a vineyard in Napa Valley. Mom and Dad loved it. "Perfect for a celebration," Mom said. Dad nodded. I agreed because Matthew deserved a day that felt like it was about him. I didn't know then that the weekend would turn into something entirely different. The drive up was calm. Matthew sat in the back seat, looking out the window, excited but trying not to show too much. He's learned that showing too much can sometimes backfire in this family. When we arrived, the vineyard stretched out in neat rows under a clear sky. The air smelled of earth and ripening grapes. Tables were set with white linens and baskets of bread. The plan was simple: food, wine for the adults, cider for the kids, and time together. Everyone started to gather. Cameron ran ahead, already exploring. Adam carried the large wrapped box with a satisfied smile. I felt the familiar mix of hope and caution. Matthew stayed close, watching, The tables were spread across a gentle slope, white linens catching the breeze as plates of cheese and bread passed around. Everyone talked at once, voices overlapping in that easy family way. Cameron darted between the vine rows, chasing shadows with his drone hovering low. He laughed every time it buzzed past a cluster of grapes, completely lost in his own world. Mom refilled cider glasses while Dad told Uncle Kevin about the latest neighborhood gossip. Adam stood near the main table, arms folded, surveying the setup like he'd orchestrated a small victory. He'd chosen the spot, booked the time, even picked the menu. It all felt like part of his plan to make the day memorable. Matthew stayed close to me, eyes on the wrapped packages stacked near Adam. He didn't ask when his turn would come. He just waited, fingers tapping his knee. Adam clapped once to get attention. Okay, presents time. He started with Cameron. New sneakers first. Cameron slipped them on immediately and ran a lap to test them. Then the drone already in the air. A gift card for the arcade followed. Cameron beamed, hugging Adam tight. Everyone applauded. Mom snapped photos. Dad ruffled Cameron's hair. Adam turned to Matthew with the largest box. And this one's for the birthday boy. He set it down with a proud smile. Go ahead. Matthew tore the paper carefully at first, then faster. The MacBook Pro box appeared. His eyes widened. He looked at Adam, then at me, then back at the box. This is for me. Adam laughed. Who else? You're 12 now. Time for something real. Not like Cameron's toys. He's happy with his drone and sneakers. But you need the good stuff. Grown-up level. He said it casually, but the comparison hung there. Cameron was still flying his drone, oblivious. Mom smiled approvingly. Dad nodded. Uncle Kevin stared at his glass. Matthew didn't hear the edge. He hugged the box to his chest, grinning wider than I'd seen in months. Thank you. This is amazing. Adam ruffled his hair again. You deserve it. Bigger and better, right? Matthew sat right down at the table, flipped the lid open, and pressed the power button. The screen lit up almost instantly. No setup screen, no fresh welcome, just a desktop full of folders, apps, and shortcuts someone else had arranged. The notification bar dropped down. A WhatsApp login alert appeared. Old credentials filled in a username that wasn't Matthew's. Profile picture of a different boy. Matthew tilted the screen toward me. Mom, what is this? I leaned in. The name, the photo, the fact that the laptop booted straight to a used account. My stomach twisted hard. I recognized the pattern immediately. This wasn't new out of the box. This was someone's old machine. I kept my face neutral, closed the lid gently, took his hand. We'll look at it in a minute. Let's move over there where it's quieter. He nodded, trusting as always, and followed me away from the group. We walked past the last row of vines to a shaded spot behind a low stone wall. The noise of the picnic faded. Only birds and the faint hum of Cameron's drone remained. Matthew sat on a bench, still holding the closed laptop. Can I try again now? I took it from him. Let me check first. I opened it. The same screen appeared. I tapped the WhatsApp notification. The app launched without asking for a password. Already signed in. Conversations loaded. Contacts with odd nicknames. Call logs with the same numbers repeated over weeks. Nothing screamed danger on the surface, but the volume told a story. Persistent messages, late-night calls, threads that didn't end well. I switched to the Photos app. Thumbnails filled the screen. School hallways, groups of boys, blurry videos of arguments, screenshots of chats that looked like pressure threats wrapped in jokes. I didn't open any fully. I didn't need to. The shape was clear. Matthew watched my face. Is it broken? No, I said, voice steady. Just some old stuff someone forgot to delete. We'll clean it up later. He accepted that. It's still the best gift ever. I closed the lid again. My mind raced. The laptop had belonged to someone before, someone who used WhatsApp heavily, someone connected to school drama, and the name Gavin flashed in one of the threads. Just a mention, but enough. Gavin, Matthew's old best friend who vanished mid-year. The one he cried over. The one the school called trouble with a group of boys. It clicked fast. This wasn't a random hand-me-down. This was deliberate. We walked back slowly. The group was still laughing. Adam waved us over. Everything okay? He loves it, Matthew answered before I could. It's awesome. Adam looked at me, eyebrows raised. See, told you, I smiled. It didn't reach my eyes. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur of food and small talk. Cameron kept playing. Matthew stayed near me, occasionally touching the closed laptop like it was precious. I watched Adam, watched Mom and Dad, watched how they orbited Cameron without thinking. By late afternoon the sun dipped lower. People started packing leftovers. I knew I couldn't wait much longer. The questions were piling up, and the answers were starting to form in the worst way possible. We said goodbyes, hugs, promises to do it again soon. Matthew carried the laptop carefully to the car. As we drove away, the vineyard shrank in the rearview mirror. He turned to me. Mom, can we set it up when we get home? Soon, I said. I promise. But first, I needed to know exactly what we were setting up and who had decided my son should inherit it. The shaded corner behind the stone wall felt like a different world from the lively picnic. The distant laughter and clinking glasses barely reached us now. Matthew sat on the low bench, legs dangling, still beaming about the laptop. I placed the MacBook on my lap and opened it carefully once more. The screen woke immediately. No delays, no loading. The desktop appeared exactly as it had before, cluttered with folders, apps, and shortcuts arranged by someone else. I started with the obvious places. First, the system information. The device had been registered months ago. The battery cycle count showed over 300 charges. This laptop had seen heavy use. It had never been properly reset for a new owner. I moved to the Messages application. Threads loaded in an instant. Contacts appeared with casual nicknames. Team Bro and one that stopped me cold. Gavin. The conversations were short but loaded. Phrases like "don't tell anyone" appeared multiple times. "You better delete that. If you show it, you're done." The tone was insistent. Manipulative words disguised as jokes but carrying weight. Pressure applied in small doses over and over. I switched to WhatsApp. The app opened without needing a password. It was still signed into an old account, group chats with school names, private threads. One conversation with Gavin stretched back to last spring. Messages like "just do it. No one will know. And you're making this harder than it has to be." Emojis followed threats. Thumbs up after warnings. The pattern was unmistakable: repeated attempts to control, to silence, to keep something hidden. I opened the Photos application next. Thumbnails filled the screen. School hallways, groups of boys standing together. A few short video clips, blurry footage of kids arguing, someone being pushed, laughter that didn't sound friendly. Screenshots of text conversations. Nothing I wanted to view in full. The overall impression was enough. This wasn't harmless kid stuff. This was deliberate, repeated behavior meant to manipulate and intimidate. My hands remained steady on the keyboard. I kept my breathing slow and even. Matthew watched me carefully. "Is it really okay, Mom? You look worried." I forced a small smile. "It's just an old account someone didn't log out of. Nothing to worry about. We'll clean it up later." He nodded, accepting my words. "Okay. I still love it." I believed he did, and that made the knot in my stomach tighten even more. I closed the Photos app, returned to the main desktop, opened the call history. The same numbers appeared repeatedly. Missed calls, repeated attempts, late night timestamps, all leading back to the same contacts. One name kept surfacing in the logs. Gavin, Matthew's old best friend. The boy he cried over when he suddenly stopped coming to school. The one whose family moved without explanation. The school counselor's vague words echoed in my memory. Some trouble with a group of boys. I had always wondered. Now the pieces fit too neatly. I checked the device owner information again. The registered email was one I recognized. It matched the account Adam used for Cameron's old tablet, the one he replaced 6 months ago, when he upgraded Cameron to a newer model. The profile picture cropped from a school photo. The timestamps aligned perfectly with when Gavin transferred out mid-year. This laptop had belonged to Cameron. The realization landed like a stone in still water. Adam hadn't bought a brand new MacBook. He had repurposed Cameron's old one, wiped it incompletely, or perhaps not at all. Wrapped it up, handed it to Matthew. Why? The answer formed slowly but clearly: to remove evidence, to shift any potential fallout. To make the device belong to Matthew now because Matthew was older, more responsible, easier to explain away if questions ever came up. Because in this family Cameron was always protected and Matthew was always the one expected to handle things. I closed all the apps, shut the lid softly, looked at my son. He was still smiling, completely unaware of the storm raging inside me. "It's okay," I told him again. "We'll fix everything when we get home." He trusted me completely. He always had. We sat in silence for another minute. The vineyard breeze moved gently through the vines. I thought about every casual comparison Adam made. Every time Mom excused Cameron's mistakes. Every time Dad held Matthew to a higher standard. The favoritism had always been there, but this time it crossed a dangerous line. This wasn't a careless mistake. This was intentional. This was someone deciding that my son could carry the consequences of another child's actions because he was bigger, stronger, easier to manage. The thought made my chest ache. I stood up slowly. "Let's go back. We don't want to miss the cake." Matthew jumped up, laptop tucked under his arm. "Can I show Uncle Kevin now?" "Maybe later," I said gently. "First, let's eat." We walked back toward the tables. The group was still gathered, laughter floating on the air. Cameron was showing off his drone again. Adam was talking with Dad. Mom waved us over with a smile. I returned the smile. It felt brittle, but inside everything had shifted. The laptop was no longer just a gift. It was evidence and the questions were growing louder by the second. For the first time in my life I wondered, if I hadn't seen this, what would my son have been forced to carry in place of someone else? The group had migrated to the shaded area near the main table. Plates were being cleared, glasses refilled. The afternoon sun slanted lower, casting long shadows across the vines. Cameron was still flying his drone, now trying to make it hover over a row of grapes. Adam stood talking with Mom and Dad, voices low but carrying in the quiet moments between laughter. I lingered near the edge of the circle, Matthew beside me with the closed laptop. He was showing it to Uncle Kevin, who nodded politely. I kept my distance from the main conversation, positioning myself behind a cluster of barrels where I could hear without being seen. The barrels were stacked high enough to block the view from the table, but not the sound. Adam's voice came first, low and urgent. "We can't just leave it like this. The school's already asking questions about Gavin," Mom responded, calm as always. "They won't trace it back." "Matthew's got it now," Dad grunted in agreement. "Matthew's older. He can handle it better," Adam exhaled sharply. "Exactly. Matthew's 12. He's big enough to deal with whatever comes up. Cameron's only 10. He wouldn't know what to do if they started digging," Mom added, softer. "And Tiffany's always been reasonable. She'll figure out how to explain it." "She always does," the words landed like stones. I pulled my phone from my pocket, switched it to silent, opened the voice recorder app, pressed record, held the phone close to the barrel angled toward the table. Adam continued, "I didn't think it would get this far, but the messages, the videos, if they find that old account, it points straight to Cameron." Dad spoke quietly. "Then it points to Matthew now." "Problem solved," Mom sighed. "It's not ideal, but Cameron's too young. He'd fall apart. Matthew's tougher. He's used to figuring things out." Adam's tone hardened. "Tiffany will manage it. She always overreacts at first, but she calms down. She won't make a scene." A pause. The drone buzzed overhead. Cameron's laughter echoed. Dad added, "We gave it to him. It's his now." End of story. I felt the phone vibrate slightly in my hand as it recorded. My thumb stayed firm on the screen. I didn't move, didn't breathe too loudly. Uncle Kevin was standing a few feet away, closer to the table than me. He had turned his head slightly, eyes on the group. He didn't say anything, didn't step forward, but his face tightened. His jaw worked once. He saw me behind the barrels. Our eyes met for a second. He looked away, said nothing. Adam lowered his voice further. "As long as no one checks the history too closely, we're fine. Matthew won't know the difference. He's just happy with the laptop." Mom murmured agreement. "He's a good boy. He'll take care of it." Dad chuckled dryly. "Better him than Cameron." The recording kept going. Every word, every pause, every casual justification. I stopped the app, saved the file, slipped the phone back into my pocket. My heart was pounding but my hands were steady. I stepped out from behind the barrels, walked back to Matthew and Uncle Kevin. Matthew was still showing off the closed laptop. Uncle Kevin looked at me again, this time longer. His expression was unreadable, but the silence between us said enough. I forced a smile. "Cake time soon," Matthew nodded eagerly. "Yeah, can we have chocolate?" Of course. I glanced at Adam, Mom, and Dad. They were smiling now. Conversation shifted to something lighter. The moment had passed for them. For me, it hadn't. The rest of the afternoon moved slowly. Cake was cut, candles blown out, photos taken. Cameron ate to pieces. Matthew ate one carefully, like he was savoring something rare. I watched the three adults. Adam laughing, Mom fussing over Cameron, Dad checking his watch. Uncle Kevin stayed quiet, sipping wine. When the sun began to dip behind the hills, people started gathering things. I helped pack the leftovers. Matthew carried the laptop carefully to the car. Cameron ran ahead, drone in hand. As we loaded the car, Adam walked over. "Good day, huh? Kid loved the gift." I looked at him. He did. He clapped me on the shoulder. "Told you. Bigger and better." I didn't answer, just nodded once. We drove away. The vineyard disappeared in the rearview mirror. Matthew turned to me in the back seat. "Mom, can we set it up tonight?" I gripped the wheel a little tighter. "Tomorrow," I said. "We'll do it tomorrow." Inside, the recording burned in my pocket. Proof, not just suspicion anymore. Actual words, actual intent. They had chosen. They had decided my son could carry the weight because he was older, because he was easier, because Cameron needed protecting. And in that moment everything became clear. The people who should have shielded my child had decided to use him as a shield instead. The adults were the ones making the choices. Cameron was just a child caught in their decisions. A child they had trained to expect protection at any cost. I wasn't angry anymore. I was certain. The drive home was quiet. Matthew sat in the back seat, laptop on his lap, occasionally running his fingers over the closed lid. He didn't ask to open it again. I didn't offer. The road stretched dark ahead, headlights cutting through the night. My mind stayed fixed on the file saved in my pocket. Every word from the vineyard replayed in my head. I kept my grip on the wheel steady. When we pulled into the driveway, the house lights were off. Mom and Dad had stayed behind to help clean up. Adam and Cameron had left earlier. The place felt empty. I turned off the engine. Matthew yawned. "Let's get you inside," I said. "Long day," he nodded, carrying the laptop carefully up the steps. Inside, I flicked on the kitchen light. He set the box on the table and looked at me. "Mom, is everything really okay with it?" I knelt to his level, took both his hands. "You didn't do anything wrong. None of this is your fault. You hear me?" He searched my face. "Okay," I hugged him tight. "Go get ready for bed. I'll be up soon." He went upstairs. I waited until his door closed. Then I sat at the kitchen table, pulled out my phone, and played the recording one more time. The voices filled the quiet room. Adam's urgency, Mom's calm rationale, Dad's finality. Every syllable confirmed what I already knew. I couldn't let this sit overnight. Not with that laptop in the house. I texted Kendra, my closest friend since college. She lived 20 minutes away. Single, no kids, always there when I needed her. "Can you watch Matthew for a couple hours tomorrow morning?" Something came up. Her reply came fast. "Of course. Everything all right? I'll explain when I get there." "Thank you." I went upstairs. Matthew was brushing his teeth. I helped him into pajamas, read a chapter from his book. He fell asleep quickly, the laptop on his nightstand like a trophy. I didn't sleep. Morning came early. I woke Matthew gently. "We're going to Kendra's for a bit." "I have an errand." He rubbed his eyes. "Is it about the laptop?" I nodded. "Yeah, but you're not in trouble?" "Promise." We drove to Kendra's. She opened the door with coffee in hand. One look at my face and she didn't ask questions. "Come in." Matthew ran to her living room. Kendra pulled me aside. "What's going on?" I kept my voice low. "I need to take the laptop somewhere. Can you keep him here until I'm back?" She nodded. "As long as you need." I hugged her. "Thank you." I left Matthew with her, told him I'd be back soon. He waved from the couch, already distracted by Kendra's dog. The school was 40 minutes away. I drove straight there. The parking lot was empty. It was Saturday, but the front office was open for weekend activities. I walked in with the laptop and my phone. The principal's assistant recognized me. "Mrs. Griffin, is everything okay?" I kept it simple. "I need to speak with the principal or whoever handles student conduct issues. It's urgent, related to Gavin's transfer last year." She called the principal. He came out 5 minutes later. We went into his office. I set the laptop on his desk. "This was given to my son as a gift. It's not new. It has history, call logs, messages, photos, things that shouldn't be on a child's device. I believe it belonged to another student. And I have a recording of family members discussing why it was given to my son." I played the recording. The principal listened without interrupting. When it ended, he leaned back. "This is serious. We'll need to involve the district office and possibly law enforcement. But first, can I take possession of the device?" I handed it over. "Yes, and the recording is copied to my cloud." He logged the laptop as evidence, took my contact information, promised to follow up within the day. I left the school feeling lighter, not relieved, not yet, but the first step was done. Back at Kendra's, Matthew was playing with the dog. Kendra met me at the door. "How'd it go?" "They're handling it." "Thank you." She squeezed my arm. "Whatever you need." I took Matthew home. He didn't ask about the laptop. I didn't bring it up. The call started that evening. First Adam, I let it go to voicemail. Then Mom, "Tiffany, what's going on?" The school called Adam. "They're asking about the laptop." I didn't answer. "Dad, next, we need to talk. This is getting out of hand." I listened to the messages. Then I blocked all 3 numbers, emails, social media, everything. The last call came from Adam late that night. I answered on speaker. "What the hell, Tiffany? You took it to the school?" I kept my voice even. "Yes, you have no idea what you've done. Cameron could get in trouble. He already is." Silence. "This could ruin his life," Adam said. I didn't flinch. "It almost ruined my son's." He started to speak. I cut him off. "We're done. Do not contact me. Do not contact Matthew. Do not try to reach us through anyone else." I hung up. The line went dead. I sat in the dark kitchen. The house was quiet. Matthew was asleep upstairs. For the first time in years, the silence felt safe. I had taken the first real step. The rest would follow. After that phone call, the silence was complete. No more voicemails, no texts, no surprise visits. I changed the locks the next day, forwarded nothing, blocked every number, every email, every social account. When a mutual friend tried to pass along a message from Mom, I thanked them politely and asked them not to do it again. The boundary was drawn in permanent ink. We moved out 3 weeks later, a small rental in a different suburb. Nothing fancy, but it had 2 bedrooms, a yard, and a door that locked from the inside. The first night, Matthew chose the paint color for his room, blue, the same shade he'd wanted for years but never asked for. I said yes without hesitation. The fallout came in stages. The school moved quickly. Cameron received formal disciplinary action suspension for the remainder of the semester and mandatory counseling sessions. At 10 years old, he wouldn't face criminal charges, but the counseling was required and the record would follow him. The district notified Adam that his son's previous device had been submitted as evidence in an ongoing review of student conduct issues from the previous year. Adam's name appeared in the documentation as the adult who transferred the device without disclosure. Adam faced probation short-term, 6 months plus community service weekends at a local youth center. Ironically enough, he was required to attend parenting classes focused on digital responsibility and child supervision. The court didn't see it as malice, but negligence with intent to conceal. That was enough. Mom and Dad didn't face legal consequences directly. No charges, but the community did the rest. Word spread through the school parent groups, the neighborhood association, the church they attended every Sunday. Invitations stopped. Conversations turned polite and brief. People who used to stop by for coffee now waved from across the street. The roles they played in school events and local committees quietly disappeared. They lost the social standing they had built over decades. It wasn't dramatic. It was gradual, and it hurt them more than any fine ever could. Uncle Kevin sent one message, a single text 3 days after everything broke. "I'm sorry. I should have said something sooner." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Matthew adjusted faster than I expected. The first few weeks were quiet. He asked about the laptop once. I told him it was being checked by experts and we'd get him a new one soon. He accepted that. He never asked about Adam, Mom, or Dad, not once. He started sleeping better, laughed more freely, made friends in the new neighborhood without second-guessing every invitation. I watched him grow into himself. No more hovering at the edge of rooms. No more waiting for permission to speak. He played soccer again, joined the school art club, came home with stories and drawings. He wasn't carrying anyone else's weight anymore. We built routines, breakfast together every morning, walks in the park after dinner, movie nights on Fridays, simple things. Safe things, things that belong to us. 6 months later the house felt like home. Not temporary, not borrowed hours. I thought about the vineyard, often the picnic tables, the vines. The moment I closed the laptop lid and decided, I didn't regret it. Not for a second. The family I thought I had wasn't real. It was a version built on conditions. On who got protected and who got expected to understand. On who was allowed to make mistakes and who had to be perfect. I didn't lose my family that day. I only stopped protecting a version of family that had never protected my son. Now we have something real, small, quiet, safe, and that's enough.